today's video we're going to do a starter replacement. Just for safety, pull your positive terminal off. And that's 10 millimeter to take that off. And then we're going to take off this part of your air duct scoop. Another 10 millimeter here. Now this just kind of pops out of here. There should be a 10 millimeter here also, where my finger's at. Mine's missing. I'm not going to worry about that. I'll just pull it off, do a little twist. Goes in a twisting motion when you put it in there. So to take it out, you're going to counterclockwise twist it. This car here, there should be a grommet and a 10 millimeter bolt here on the side. And of course mine's only got a 10 millimeter bolt on the side, which is kind of hooked around. So I'm gonna unhook it and pull this out. So it just kind of slides out. We're gonna loosen the clamps on this ductwork here, going to your throttle body. This is a 7 millimeter socket I'm using instead of just a regular screwdriver. The clamps are 7 millimeter. We got this hose here I'm going to take off. The reason I'm taking this hose off is we've got to pull this whole housing off to get to the starter. So that hose, I'm just going to hook it like that. And then we want to disconnect the computer PCM. So we pull your little shroud off here. Put it between the positive and the battery cable. So here we're going to button, press to release this red thingy, push that over, disconnects one. You want to pull off both of your connectors from the PCM, the computer. So it's disconnected there. You can see it. All right, once they're off, should be free other than the throttle position sensor wire here. You got to take that off. You can see it. Just a little tab. Now, with all that disconnected, this should wiggle out. There you go. A little bit of strength. Now we gotta finagle it out of here. There's your starter. Starter. This I'm going to try and get this hose to move out of the way, and I need some Torx. A T25 Torx. that. Now we got rusty Torx. Hopefully we get that one out. What I'm trying to do is get this Torx right here. It's all rusty, nasty, and full of stuff. So I'm trying to do, make sure the Torx is nice and clean, so that way I can get the Torx spinning as far as possible. So I'm hoping it comes off. There you go. I mean, it shouldn't take much to get it to turn. It's only going into a plastic housing. It's not like it's going to be held fast by rust, but the actual exterior where this Torx bit goes in was rusted. It was all nasty, so I really wanted to get focus. I just wanted to get it in as deep as possible to be able to crank it. The purpose of that is I want to move these lines out of the way here. Battery line and this water line. Try and get them to move because the bolt is down underneath of it here. So I don't have a whole lot of room here to be jerking and moving stuff around, so do what we can do. The one, let's see, touch the other one. That's tight. It's tight in here, but I'm going to see what we can make work. Now I'm going to take the battery cable off of this and the wire. So let's see what size we got going on here. 13 millimeter. Got the nut off. Took off this nut right here, which was 13 millimeter. And then I'm working on the second nut on the inside. This is 10 millimeter. That nut off. Now, positive cable comes off. The only thing left is the nuts and bolts on the opposite side here. So we got all about 5 minutes into this job to where we're at right now, and we're going to try and get this top nut off. You literally can stick your finger over the top and touch the nut. You can see it between. You can't really see it on the video, but we got to go under everything here to get it. And there's a wire loom and there's a water line, and that's why I loosened this here to lift the water line up enough that I get my extension. I got my 6-inch extension on with a 13 millimeter socket, and I'm going to guide it underneath of everything, kind of lifting it up. And I have the light going to where the head of the bolt, it's actually a nut. There's a nut on each of these that's holding this bracket that holds the air cleaner housing right here. Pushes into that. So we got to get this bracket off. So there's 2 nuts that have to come off first. And then after those nuts are off, that bracket comes off. Then you can actually get to the bolt. I'll show you here in a second. That was easy. I was just gonna say don't drop it down there, but I did it anyway. Alright. That nut down on the pan. We didn't go too far. So that's one of the nuts that have to come off. So the other one is down a little further. So for this, pull out a little swivel to give me some bending room, hopefully. So you can kind of, it's hard to see, but we've got it going on an angle down here to get the nut. It's pretty loose. I'm trying to. Oh. Take it off with the finger. See, this one's gonna be a bear to put back on. Yeah, I'm lifting up all the lines. I can just get my fingers on the nut and get it out of there. So I was able to use my fingers. I was going under all the lines, and was able to twist it off with my fingers. So that nut is out of there. Now this bracket should slide out of here, I'm hoping. And expose both the starter bolts. See if we can see them on the video. Yeah. One bolt here, one bolt here. So we can get to it easy. I don't know, I haven't kept track of time, but I'm gonna say we're 10 minutes into the job. And since I got my favorite tool of all time, this is my favorite tool. I've had it since they first came out. Gear wrench, box end, flexible head, wrenches. I've used them for everything for years. They've been indestructible. Great for tight spaces. Okay, that's what we're taking out. the nut screwed on here that held that bracket that holds the air cleaner at the bottom. So that's one starter bolt. The other starter bolt's pretty easy. Those starter bolts out. Now, I have to give it a love tap to get it out of there. Let me get something to smack it with. Probably just a handle and a hammer. Let's see. It's got a little tit that holds it in place. There it is. Starter's out. So after we got the two bolts out, this tit was holding it in place. So 2 bolts out. Tit, give it a little smack. This is only a core, it's garbage. It's going back to get my core charge back. But been a good starter, even though I think I'm only at 116,000 miles. Can't say it was that great of a starter, but I feel starters only last around 100 to 130,000 miles anyway. Let's see. Old versus new comparison. That wire's got to come off. Now we can put our new starter back in. Right back in there. Now I'm going to put a little bit of never sees, anti-seize on the bolts that came out of the starter. Not that I'm hoping that I don't ever have to deal with it again, but I'll still put a little bit on there. Call this stuff silver death. Silver death because you get it on you, it appears everywhere. No matter how careful you are, you'll be like, oh, where'd I get this spot from? Oh, the light's not being helpful here. That's one. That's silver death. I don't know how long I'm keeping this car. I've had it for a while, but I still got more stuff I want to do to it. I'm going to do a tune-up and a bunch of other stuff here shortly. I just got silver death on my finger. It's been a good car, I can say that. So both the studs, both the bolts, let's say, are back in. And I got silver death on my gloves, so I'm going to get rid of this glove. I found with these gear wrenches that you really can crank on them. I mean, I've taken some stuff off. I've even beat on them with hammers. They're still going. they're tight. Now, I don't think I'm going to put any of that never sees, anti-seize on these bolts, nuts, because they came off real easy, so I'm not really worried about them. So, with that said and done, put this bracket, let's see, just goes back on each one of these bolts. Studs, actually I want to call them studs. Now this is the fun part, getting these two nuts back on. Yep. Grabbed it from the panel, the trusty magnet. Alright, let's put a piece of tape on the nut so it won't fall out, and try it again. Okay, so the tape held it in place long enough to get the nut on there. Now let's get it tight. One. Now, the bottom one I was able to reach with my hands, so let's see if we can do that again. Come below. So I was able to hold it with 2 fingers and go straight in on it and get it started. So it's kind of tight. Feels like you have to be like crazy good with your fingers here to get some of this stupid stuff. So go back to my 13mm socket with a swivel on an extension. Reach across to See it down here. It's going down an angle with a swivel to the top of that nut. Alright. That nut is on. And then this new nut is not measured, I bet. Go back to putting this stuff back together. So, okay, I'm going to put the rusty Torx back where it belongs. You don't have to crank these super hard. I mean, the plastic itself is gripping onto it, so they're not going to unscrew. So you don't want to really crank them down hard because you'll snap them off or strip the plastic out. Just barely snug them up. They're not going to go anywhere. So we're done with the Torx, okay? And since we're moving hoses around here, I just want to double check in case we unclipped anything. I see this one clip here. Looks like it's kind of been disconnected for a long time. And then I saw this here has a hose that appears like it clips onto, like there's a line up here. Looks like it's supposed to be up further. Yes. I think so. Maybe. Looks good to me. All right. So this is just kind of hanging here. Trying not to get anything into the actual connectors here, so I'm going to kind of move them out of the way so we don't get the connector all dirty. I'm going to slide the air cleaner housing back in. So the bottom of the air cleaner housing has these tits that go back in here. Got 1, 2, 3 tits plus the upper one here at 4. So slide this back in. Finagle it, move it, wiggle it. There's a couple things you got to get it around. Always easier sliding out. There we go. All right. So you can see the upper line. You can even see the bottom. Took some muscle to pull it out. Yeah, it looks okay. Bottom one goes into that bracket that was on the starter, so looks okay, I guess. This thing on. There you go. Make sure it's all the way on, all the way around. Let's see. Screws walking out, but it's pretty tight. It's not stripped, it just was not where it's supposed to be. Okay, just snap that back on. Looks like there was a zip tie that went through this bracket. It's not the best in the world. It looks like it came off. All right, get our connector Connector's hooked up. All right. Kind of can't really see it too well in the video here. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Somebody snapped the connector off of this one here, so it still goes on, just not easily. Just gotta like push the. There's no little lever on it. There's like a spot you can push them out, push them back in. This one here's got the actual lever. Get it in place. So that's back together, and then slide our cover back on. Cover's back on. Let's tighten up our clamps are nice and straight. Now, if this isn't tight all the way around and not properly fitted down and not properly up, I mean, you would hope you get it on there right, but if it sucks air in here, if there's a hole, if you puncture a hole, or if it sucks air because it's not properly seated all the way around, it's going to throw off the mass airflow sensor that's right in here, and could throw a code, or could run funny or idle funny, or get bad fuel mileage. So make sure this is put together correctly. So we got that on. All right, now you can see this hose here goes right here, goes back on. Slip your clamp around, grab your so it was 8mm. All right, so we're not missing anything. Everything's left. Everything is back where it belongs, over here. So at this point, this whole assembly should be back together all over here. We're just going to put our air box back on. Just a point of slipping it down in here. Grab our percolate. Kind of difficult to see, but it's just going to go right into there. This just snaps into there. Keep the camera, sorry. A little finagle twist and snaps in. All right. Put our air cleaner back in. A little bit of an angle here. Twist it back together there. Snap. And like I said, in your case, or most people, you have a 10mm. You can go here and there. In my case, it's missing one of them. So that's it. Clean up my tools. Oh, okay, and that is basically all back together, even though, like I said, my little airbox thing is messed up. Missing a grommet or something here. And the last thing to do here is hook your battery cable back up. 10mm. Back up. Make sure there's no tools left in the car. Remove everything. Just do a little visual inspection. Make sure everything looks like it's back the way it's supposed to be. Got both these tight. Make sure these are tight. We're all back together. Let's hear how the new starter starts. My video on changing the starter on the Volvo S40. I hope it helps you out in repairing your Volvo yourself. Give me a like, share, and subscribe, because you never know what I'm going to do next.